Okay. So again, let's then now fast forward to 1981. So you're this accomplished fighter jet pilot. 1981, or is it 1982?
82.
82 was a huge turning point, especially because of the Air Force.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened. Explain to people about that time. Imagine the people who would have no idea what happened then.
Yeah, 1982 August. Well, let's go back to the last week of July. 2 weeks actually. There was a military exercise where we act as in a war. And what happens is you have this brigade fighting this brigade, and then you have the Air Force. You are the enemy now. You have the Air Force now supporting now the friendly bit. Where I was in Wajir. So you're out there in the bush, now the tanks are rolling, you're there, and the air ground guys would control when the F5s come, say there's a target, 90 degrees left, 50 miles or whatever it is, using binoculars, or 10 miles. I was selected to be the air liaison officer for that exercise. Again, luck. So I was there as the air liaison officer, means I'm talking to the jets as they come, and I'm giving them target instructions. So they would come and act, come boo, and say they have destroyed or whatever. And I'll be guiding them and saying whether you missed target, you're left of target, or because we'd have the dummy things there, and they were meant to come and zoom past. So that's what I was doing. And I was there with, of course, you are with the army. I'm the only Air Force guy there, or 2 or 3 of us. But I'm with the army now, the army who are fighting the enemy. Fighting the enemy.
Yes.
So we got back on the end of July 31st, the night before the coup. The coup was August 1. Flew back by helicopter to Nanyuki, and again, luck. When I got to base, we were tired, dusty, and I needed to return. You're given a weapon. I had my pistol. I needed to return the pistol. And with me was another friend of mine who we had also, he was on the other brigade as the air liaison officer for them. So we had flown back together. He lived at the base. I lived in the hotel. So we waited for the armory to open. He got fed up, said, I'll return this tomorrow. It was a Saturday. He said, I'll return it on Monday. I somehow waited until I returned the weapon, and thank God for that. Because when the coup happened, I would have been home with a gun. Now, my friend, just to sidetrack, simply because he had the gun, during the questioning, one of the things that was coming up, what were you doing with a gun? And he's saying, I had this in the bush, so why didn't you return it? The armory guy was not there. They could not, and then unfortunately he was from that tribe that majority had done the coup. So he had all kinds of things going against him. Anyway, that's just a sidetrack. So I give back the gun, go home.
What made you give back the gun despite the fact that the care wasn't opening?
We only carry guns when we are in the bush. Or during wartime, if you're going to war as a pilot in a fighter jet, you'd carry a gun which you'd put in your thing here. The reason being, should you be captured by the enemy, you have something to protect yourself. Should you eject, then you always carry a gun. But in day-to-day military, we don't carry guns, But we had a gun because now we are doing a war exercise, so everybody has a pistol.
So that's why you returned it. You're just I'm not carrying this thing to civilian as a civilian.
Yeah, you don't carry.
So then now what happens? So this is 31st.
Go home. So I'm with Gina. I go home, fast asleep, and she gets a call at 5 a.m. From a friend of ours, the wife of another pilot, Is CB there? I said, yeah, he's asleep. And she says that Dave was picked at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. I said, why? I said, there's been a coup. I said, what do you mean a coup? So Gina woke me up and I got up and we're trying to figure out what's happening. Nobody quite knows. Then at about 6, just when daylight was coming, I heard the F5 zooming off. They came to Nairobi, 2 of them. Because they came and what the coup guys were trying to do, and they had armed them, because there was junior officers, is to come and bomb State House, bomb KBC. But the guys who came, they just did a few passes and went and dropped the bombs in Mount Kenya. So they came back, said, we have done it. Yeah, it was lucky. The whole thing could have changed very, very badly.
It's just that the people who are sent to do the job,
they were being under gunpoint by the junior soldiers, where you're going to fly. And they were sitting in the rear seat of the F5. So in the front seat, you see tandem.
Yeah.
Is a pilot. In the rear seat is this guy with a gun. So they just did some maneuvers, confused the guy, zoomed through Nairobi, went, dropped the bombs, came back and landed.
So, are you telling me that? Pardon, I'm trying to understand this. Are you telling me that somebody came and took hostage of?
What happened was they sent cars, Land Rovers, to all the pilots' houses. I lived in the hotel, so I did not live in a military house because I lived with Gina in the hotel.
Yes.
We had a cottage there. But anybody who lived in a military house, which they had rented houses all over for married people, they went around collecting them. And then they did not collect me because I used to drive myself.
Yeah.
Again.
Your story and this word luck.
I should write a book saying, one lucky guy.
So, and who are these people who collect them?
The coup was done by very junior officers. Actually, it was a corporal called Ochuka. He was a lead. So all his team were the same rank. They were corporals, senior privates. So they went to the armory and got guns, got in Land Rovers, and you're coming with us. So they went picking officers, and they went, if you read the story, that was Nanyuki. In Isli, they had gone all over town, shooting in the air. They had sent a team to KBC.
Yes, I remember that.
They had gotten a famous gentleman called Leonard Mambo Botella, who was well known, to come and make an announcement so it sounds genuine. Because if you hear a normal, genuine voice, like if today you hear Jeff Koinange,
exactly.
You say, that must be legit.
And please note, at this time, that is the only station.
Yes. So, although luckily, again, it lasted very, very few hours, because when the army came over and overpowered, the army moved in and now overpowered all the Air Force officers. So a few were killed, put in custody.
So when all of this is happening, you are at
But when I had the jets zoom, I got up, said I have to go. This is what I've been waiting for. There's action. And very luckily, Gina fought me off. I mean, she said, you're not going.
So I was tough. It was really.
When you say Nyanyuki
really
was very central, because the Air Force.
Yes,
the Air Force.
Yeah, and so I got this call from a friend of mine, a major's wife, major in the Air Force, who said, "Hey, where's Chris?" I said, "He's here," and she said, "Oh, because Dave, who was her husband, has just been picked up. There's a coup," and I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, there's been a coup." And I tell Chris, I'm like, "Chris, this is what's happened." He's, "Oh, good, I need to get my uniform." And I'm like, "To go where?" I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Well, I mean, of course, he wanted to be where the action was." And, him and I had like this big argument, like, "No, you can't go." And thank God he didn't go, because he would have been in jail. But then there was just sort of my mum and I in a very different environment, because Nanyuki, there was obviously curfew. There was a lot that was going on. A very good friend of ours showed up at the gate the night of the coup, having been shot and beaten up. You couldn't get doctors, so there was my mum and I cleaning this man. I mean, there was just a lot. There was a lot going on.
She said, "You're not going." So she blocked the door. We had a tussle.
Yeah.
Eventually, then information started coming from about 8 or 9 that the army have moved in. They are rounding up all the Air Force officers, wherever they find them. So now we laid low.
Okay.
Again, because I was not in military housing, nobody knew where I was. So we just sat there. It was a Sunday, I remember. We sat there the whole day now getting information. Some few dead. Nanyuki is in Nairobi, a lot of dead. Windows broken. This has happened. So when the army moved in, again, the first place they went to was KBC. And now they've got the proper information. Said, we keep calm, everybody go home. We have taken care of the situation. The coup has been suppressed. And if you remember, they sent a team to go pick Moi. Moi was in Kabarak. Brought him under armed guard now to Kabarak, his house here. To now, he came by road to now command things from here. So it was a very messy day, very messy few days after.
In fact, so now I'm wondering now about you, because people must be wondering, where is this guy?
Now, in that evening, another friend of mine who had been in Nyeri, a pilot like me, fighter pilot, he came he somehow maneuvered through all the roadblocks, and he came and joined me. So we sat there wondering, now what do we do?
And what about your other pal who had come with a gun? He was also there with you?
No.
Or he had gone somewhere else?
The pilots who were picked were now at the Air Force base.
No, but remember the guy who you said had a gun, when both of you came and tried to return your guns? So
no, he was at the base. Yeah, he was at the base. I
Okay.
was in town.
Okay.
He was in Nanyuki Air Force Base then.
So he was one people
He was rounded up.
Okay, so your friend now comes and
Yeah, now he joins me. Now we are wondering what to do. Trying to get as much information as we can. So we decided we'll just sleep and report tomorrow. So in the morning, that was Monday morning, we got on the phone and we called the base and said, we are here, what do you want us to do? So they told us, stay there, we are sending a car.
Oh.
So they sent a Land Rover. So me and my friend got on board, and then this gentleman got on the radio and said, 2 others have surrendered. So I tapped him and said, what are you talking about? He just ignored me. Afande, 2 more surrendered.
African Heritage, Kwaheri Bye Bye, closes about 1985 that you said.
Yes.
What happens next?
That's interesting because coming back to settling down in Nairobi in 1983 thereabouts, I also got into music for advertising. That's when I really got into starting to produce, and I would do some with the band, but I'd do a lot on my own, and so that became my mainstay.
Okay, let's talk about that. Became what was providing for you.
Yeah. I should mention also that when I did come back in 1983, get a job, So I worked in the treasury for 2 years while African Heritage was, kind of like a side hustle. Yeah, that's yeah.
That's crazy. Let's talk about this advertising side, because a lot of people may not know, but you've been extremely fundamental in shaping that. How did it start? This is the agency life now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before I left to go to India, I had been asked to play piano on a piece. It was for some hair product in a studio. That actually was, And I said, hey, this is interesting. And so when I was exposed to a little bit of that in India, I came back and I said, how else can I make money? And I
also, this happened in India where you asked to play for.
No, here in Kenya.
Oh, here in Kenya.
Before
Okay.
And then in India, I looked at some studios and things like that. And so coming back, our side hustle, or my side hustle, apart from African Heritage and the Ministry of Finance, was doing commercials. Composing commercials. By then, music technology had started, MIDI and computerized, whatever. So it became a little easier going along.
For those who may not understand, I mean, of course I understand it because as a musician, but explain the difference between pre-MIDI and MIDI. What does that mean from a production perspective?
Yeah, MIDI literally stands for Music Instrument Digital Interface. It was a protocol invented by computer manufacturers that allowed electric keyboards to address appropriate software that enabled you to basically do tapeless recording on the computer. In fact, in the late 70s, people would say tapeless recording is impossible because the processing power doesn't exist.
So it means pre-MIDI, you actually in the studio performed the whole song.
Yeah, we'd go in and perform the whole song or perform the whole
That's
commercial.
the only way to record it, to capture it.
Yeah, a lot of the commercials and all of the songs we did was just live capture. Everything was live capture.
So now MIDI allowed you now to create it in parts.
Yes, you could do that in parts in the studio and splice tapes, which a lot of, especially 70s rock artists did. Literally splicing, like they do film, before film went digital. There's something about a good live rendition that is organic because there's an interplay based on what you've learned, but based on what you bring to it at that given time. And what you find with a lot of, or you would find with a lot of computer-based production is that it could be mechanical. Unless you have the capacity to use the software not as an idol but as a tool, you lose the organic nature.
Sometimes MIDI can be too perfect.
It can be too perfect.
Yeah,
and yes, I went into that. That's perfect. The beat is slightly off. At some point I said, you know what? I'm going to limit myself to 4, 5, 6 tracks and I'm just going to play. If there's a fluff note, it's a fluff note. If the job description requires a robotic type of mechanic, choreographed thing to strict edits, I'll hit the edit points, but I'm not going to let ebb and flow. Especially if it's my own compositions. It depends on what you're doing. If it's a film score, it just depends on what is required.
Okay, so who then, in terms of this agency or commercial world, who do you connect with?
I connected with someone who was ahead of me in Lenana School, Sam Madoka. He was an executive in an ad agency, and I can't remember how we connected, but he was working for McCann Erickson, an international agency that has offices here. And my first ads were through McCann Erickson. They eventually got to know some of the other agencies, like MCL. Nowadays it's called MCL Saatchi, I don't know, because they're affiliated with somebody, and Scan Ad at the time. Now it's called Scan Group. Yeah, that's quite a success story.
Yes, that we're getting to right now.
He started in about 4 or 5 rooms in an office block somewhere, and now it's a huge thing.
Bharat.
Yeah, quite something. Amazing.
Okay,
Amazing.
so do you start? I mean, 85 has come. African Heritage has closed, has ended. Do you actually go and start working as a producer at
freelance? Or
freelance. Okay, so different people would call you.
Yeah, would call and say, look, we've got to do this for that. Can you do this for that?
So have you got a studio setup of your own?
In an informal sort of way, yes. But by that time, I didn't. This suddenly reminds me. I did get into a studio in the mid-70s when I was in Form 4. There was a studio at Valley Road Church. Nairobi, what do they call it now? Sitam,
yes.
Valley Road. A Swedish engineer called Carl Anderson. And I don't remember how I discovered that studio. An aunt of mine introduced me to that studio and said, just record some of your music. And I recorded little things and put a cassette there, and I forgot about that. That was when I was in Form 4 or Form, whatever.
And so it was like your own instrumental.
Yeah, I don't even know I don't even know if it still exists. And I went into the studio with Ayub on drums and Suzanne and some of her friends on BGV on 1 or 2 songs. I remember that. Anyway.
So you're saying BGV, who was lead?
No, there were 2 songs. It was instrumentals.
Okay,
but there were
so
2 songs. Ayub sang on them. And Suzanne and some of her friends were BGVs.
Oh.
Yeah. And anyway, when I got back and the African Heritage thing was happening, I remembered that studio. And that's where we recorded our music, the African Heritage music. And so when I got into the commercial thing, I did a lot there. Carl really mentored me in understanding more about studio process and things like that. Mm-hmm. All that time, there are no computers or anything. Everything's going real time. We'd walk in and you have to do a 30-second thing. You take 1, you're on 29, take 2, you're on 32, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Okay, so where does the story go on from here?
Advertising became the mainstay of my sustenance. Mm-hmm. Just all kinds of commercials, a couple of short film soundtracks and things like that. Because now I'm solo. But here I am, sitting in at that time I was single, sitting in my bedsitter, in my room and looking at life and saying, wait a minute, I've been there, I've done that. I've been loaded, I've been bust like a rat. I've done the church thing, I've done the pop thing. What's life all about? These significant questions that everyone should ask themselves at different parts of their lives. I've been out there, I've done plays for Christian groups, and everyone knows the story of their lives. And I said, what do I really want? And I was sitting in a place where everything had gone bust, even the work I was doing. I said, you know what? I've tried so many things. I think it's time to try God. Alone in my room, I don't know what time of the night it was. I said, look, God, I want to work for you. I don't remember what words I used. I want to be a disciple. I want to do something. I want to be something that makes a difference in the lives of people. It hasn't worked with pop music. It hasn't worked with whatever. It hasn't worked with studying. Transform me first, change me first, save me first. Because yes, by that time, exposure to Christian Union in high school, exposure to so many forums. You know the story. You know the story about committing your life. You move on. You move on. For some people, it happens as a child. For some, they have to go through stuff. I had to go through stuff. And say, you know what? I want something constant. I want somebody constant. I want to be constant. And I want to be able to provoke people to be constant. Save me first. And that's when I accepted Christ.
What year was this?
This was, where am I? 1985, late 85, coming into 86. Interestingly, by this time, I had renewed my acquaintance with, there was a group of musicians who had come in from Uganda just before I went to India. Gospel musicians. Because that's the other thing. Even before I went to India, I did a few things with a gospel group. Based in Nairobi Baptist Church. And these people came in from Uganda, and they were incredibly talented. And one of them was a brother to, I think you know Kwame Rubadiri.
Yes.
And they asked me to play organ for them and things like that, and it was quite something. I was introduced to them by a family friend called Catherine Bathi, who really, she was a gospel type of singer, and she really inspired young people and things like that. They were called the Revivals from Uganda, and I was moonlighting with this group called the Trekkers from Nairobi University, and it was those kind of heart experiences that came back to my mind now in the 80s. And I said, this is what I want. And eventually, you know, I joined a gospel group of who Kwame was one of the leaders, and a few other people I had known in the past, you know, just from basic circles or school circles and things like that. And one person who I had never known, who was then to become my wife, was in that group. Now, that wasn't the plan, but you know, she was there. I found her there, you know. And with this group, we did quite a few things, you know, college fellowships, college forums, a few churches. Reverend Dennis White had just set up CETAM Valley Road, the current structure, and he really encouraged us a lot. At that time, we would lead worship and forums and things like that. We'd go around with large fellowships, like Pan-African Christian Women's Association would have fellowships, and we would lead worship there. We would open for acts like Silver Convention, and you know, help out with sound for artists like the late Jesse Dixon. He was an African-American gospel singer. You know, it was a very interesting time for me, because here I was asking God, and suddenly I'm sunk into this whole thing, a raw believer, so to speak. But it was really, really, I think it was really good for me. It helped me to fill in spaces and blanks and gaps.
So you sort of went into this like almost full time, or you're still doing? Of course. I'm
still doing advertising.
You still got you've got the advertising that needs to feed you.
But this was my vocation. This was my passion. Yeah.
Okay, I just need to ask it because I've sat down with the man. At this time, have you bumped into Pete Odera?
Pete Odera, I bumped into, I think, briefly in the African Heritage time, very briefly. I think there's a time a lot of young people he was around had come there. He would give you more details. I don't even remember if he had been there. Including a gentleman I should mention called Eric Ajuoga. He was a very talented young bassist. I think he was Kenya's first Berkeley student.
Whoa.
He's still in the US, you know, teaching music and all of that kind of stuff. When do I distinctly remember meeting Pete?
Anyways, so these guys are doing their thing. They're unreachable. I'm broke, and they're unreachable. But Mildred just holds my hand, almost literally, and says, let's go and have tea or coffee. So we talk, you know, I'm doing my drawings, everything. So I'm carrying my paintings. In my heart, I want to be a musician, but my hands are doing this art thing. And so I draw, you know, some portraits and stuff. So she says, let's go to African Heritage. We're there, we talk. And as we're going in and coming out, she meets Jack, who they know. She says, oh, this is my friend Pisa. And so here I am with Supermodel, and I faint because I met my hero, Jack Odongo. And I say, oh my God, I'm tongue-tied, what am I gonna do? And I want to tell him, dude, you gotta hear my music. I don't have a single recording, I have nothing because I've never been to a studio in my life. I don't know what to do. Oh goodness, what am I gonna do? I don't know what to say. And he looks at the paintings and says, keep it up, and walks away. And I say in my heart, no, come back, I can sing.
Getting saved and getting to meet who would become my wife, the two of us felt that we need to be grounded in a church. And we discovered what is now called the International Christian Center. It was a small fellowship at that time meeting in the French Cultural Center auditorium.
In the French Cultural Center?
Auditorium, yes.
What?
Small, there were not more than 100 20 people, 100 people, a lot of expatriates. Apparently the Assemblies of God institution has churches all over East Africa. But this church was specifically to cater for the missionaries.
ICC now?
Yes, at that time.
Yes, that time.
And so it was just about 50% missionaries and 50% Kenyans at the time. Under a pastor under who we actually got married, who became like parents to us. Incredible. He's now in the States. His wife passed on not too long ago. If I ever had adult parents, it was them. I was new in the faith, and my wife and I really grew. We spent about 7 years in that church. He entrusted us with the worship ministry, encouraged us. I discovered at that time my wife was also a composer and a writer, and so we wrote musicals, Christmas musicals, Easter musicals for about 7 years. In that process, we met people like Peter Odera, who actually took part in one of them. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, Pete was in a group based in Baptist Church called Triumph. The younger people, they were excellent. They were really good. Some of the members are now in the States, some are back here. That was my real encounter with Pete, in that time when we were in the ICC, because the church had a policy of allowing us to do musicals and calling people in from, young people from whichever churches. It was quite a time. A time of growth spiritually, and in terms of life focus and putting perspective to what is wealth, what is heritage, what is inheritance, what is the use of it all, so to speak, quote unquote. Do
you remember recording his first album?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think he called the album Say Yes. Yeah, you're reminding me.
So I got it in my head that I should leave my band and record a solo project. And so I said, guys, it's been real. It's not that I hate you.
I just need to do me.
It's not you.
It's me.
It's me. And so I went to Jack and I said, Jack, can you produce my first project? And I don't even know what ended. I had no money to do this project. And so he told me what it would cost. So the entire project was supposed to cost, album and everything, stuff he was going to help me, was going to cost me 10K. That was he's like doing me a favor. It's 10 songs, 8 songs or whatever, it's going to cost you 10K plus masters. I said, wow. Okay, you need to understand, it's not master CDs, it's master tape.
Yes.
A chrome tape that I could go
And make copies.
and make copy chrome tapes. Make copy tapes from there. I learned the entire process from working with Jack Odongo. So there I was, and he said, okay, I'll do it. Take a chance on this kid who knows nothing.
It's like 91?
1990.
Oh, we're still in 1990, yeah?
That was, I was just building up to the 1990. So we started work on this project. We did the preliminary beats and stuff with my friend John Menya, who had the one with the synthesizer and stuff. So we do the preliminary beats, program the sequencer, and then go to Jack's and dump, do a MIDI dump, and now start recording on the first 8-track recorder that I'd ever worked with. So my first album had 8 tracks. 8 tracks. 2 tracks for the audio, 3 tracks for vocals. So that's 5 tracks taken, and then keys on maybe tracks 6 or 7, and 1 for a click. So it was like 7. What you hear on the actual recording, I can't even bear to listen to it anymore, is 7 tracks and a click track that was muted. And then we do overdubs, do some punch-ins and mix that down, and then dub it back into the actual recording.
Yes.
And then mix it, and then we had a recording.
This was in that season. By that time, I had managed to put together a little 4-track studio, still doing commercials, and trying to record my wife and my music and different artists. Did quite a few albums on that. No computers. It was interesting.
Who are some of the people you worked with in that season?
Oh,
Can you remember?
Gosh, you mean in advertising or in music?
In music.
Oh my gosh, Ruben Kigame. That was his first album, I think. Beautiful songs. He was in KU at the time, and he had a quartet, 2 ladies and 2 guys who had the most exquisite harmonies with their whole album. Now I remember.
For Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben. Yeah, that's when I first met Ruben. Yeah.
You later went on. I actually spoke with Ruben, and he told me you even played at his wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to throw that in.
Yeah, I did. Because Ruben, what an incredible musician, incredible mind.
Okay, so I'm trying to get some context here. So now you've set up this small studio where you're able to work. You're getting involved in church. At this time, currently, I see they're not even at Ufungamana House at this time.
No. They were at the French Cultural.
I didn't even know that they started there. French Cultural Center. Okay, so let me just paint some context here. So you've got this setup that you've got. You've got this ICC worship that you're doing. You're finding God. Let me ask though about some of the ads that you've done at this time. Let's talk a little bit more about the commercials, because what was being played on TV was being done by you. In fact, when I interviewed Peter Dera, he said he came to you because of what he had seen on TV.
Oh.
An ad, I think it was, I don't know what you.
Well, I wasn't the front man. I was in the back.
Yeah, but you were the one making the music.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. Oh gosh, which clients, is that what you're asking?
Yes. Who are some of the projects that you worked on?
All of this was done through ad agencies, but clients like Robilac Paints, McLean's toothpaste. Oh gosh, Crown Paints.
Tin, 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 tin. Was that you?
Crown Paints?
Yeah. That's when I was a kid. I remember that ad. Tin, 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 tin,
a piano
tin, tin, tin.
There were so many Colgate. There was.
It was
McLean's,
Crown Paints.
There was medical products like Andrew's Liver Salt, Hair Glow. I mean, there were just so many.
Turn on the stove, cut the sachet, pour it in, gonna make my day. That smell, it excites me, that taste, it delights me. When I pour
And they were working on the tail end of the Princess Patra ad. Princess Patra ad was like this ad was like something you've never heard.
Princess Patra lets your beauty talk.
It was so cool that they actually did 33 RPM, pressed the 33 RPM that they actually sold or gave to their clients.
What?
It was an amazing ad. The song basically went, Princess Patra, let your beauty talk for you. And the ad had this girl who was dancing in a club with the lights and everything. So it was a really cool thing with Simon drums. It was so cool.
It was a boom time for advertising, I think.
It was, huh?
And the creative directors at the time were really interested in getting things out there, either for radio or TV. And the genres were whether for national service, general service, which is English, Swahili, or for TV. In that time, I met Andrew White, a creative director who is still here.
Yep.
He was one of the most creative. He was crazy. He'd walk into a boardroom with shoes, no socks, jeans, and play his guitar. And he was a guitarist. So we would write or co-compose a lot of commercials, and it was quite an experience because he was very seasoned in that area, and writing in that genre or for that type of product market was very specific.
Yeah.
It's not about the artist; it's about the product.
Yep.
Unless it's an artist endorsement. You see. And I know that in that season also, recording a few gospel artists like Reuben Kigame, the late Achieng Abura, she was a gospel artist that time, and I'm trying to remember different groups, Youth for Christ.
Okay. Did you ever meet up with Barrett?
Thakra?
Yes.
Yes. In fact, Andrew White was his first. No, I can't remember. But I met Barrett shortly after he must have started ScanAd. It was called ScanAd at the time. And he really encouraged me a lot. He used to say, just invest, get this amount of money, invest, put a studio together. And I would think that amount of money is crazy. And we churned out a whole lot of ads. He was a go-getter. He was, he'd say, if I listen and I'm not interested in this piece after 10 seconds, it's not the one. Go and do it again. He was crazy, but it really pushed to get the exact brief and to get things going. He was really innovative. He didn't like to waste time. It was about product, endorsement, client satisfaction, I can see why he is where he is. He was very challenging. I found him very challenging in the sense that, boy, you better have your A game on.
All the time.
Yeah, he doesn't want stories, your A game.
So that was, okay. So what now period are we talking about? You've gotten saved, you're now...
Well, this advertising thing started from around, almost literally from 83 with the African Heritage, when I was with them, going on right through that time. Yes, now I remember I did meet Andrew White, I think in 84 or 5 when he first came to Kenya. He was not with Scan Group at the time. He came in as this creative director who was so informal, so brilliant, so casual, but so spot on. And we did a lot of great stuff for Bata, Marie Claire, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay, so you've made this. I want us to sort of plug now into the church, and just understand where it goes, because you've made this commitment. God, use me. I want to work for you. You've got all this skill and training, and so now where does that story go? Well, first of all, in fact, how is the church seen at this time? You see, what churches exist, what churches are there, where are people going to church?